All right, welcome to Gaming with the Guys, Bungles After Dark. I'm Greg, Gaming Greg, and we're here. You'll notice it's just me tonight, or maybe you will be finding out it's just me tonight. So Gaming Jason was not able to make it, but luckily for us, we have a special guest tonight from all the way from Australia. We've got Ben Brother Bear Howard, who's here. He is. He's coming here to join us. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Very well. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining us.
Coming at you from the land down under, as we would say.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to have you here, because otherwise it's just me, and I talk enough, and people probably get tired of hearing my voice over and droning. It's bad.
No, I enjoy the show. I like the banter normally, so hopefully I can add to that and make up for Jason not being well. Hopefully, Jason, if you're watching this, you get well soon. Yeah,
hopefully he's better by the time we post this up here for sure. Yeah, unfortunately, Gaming Jason has gotten something, and we could definitely say it's not COVID. What it is exactly, I'll be honest with you. We're in spring here. We're at the end of spring here, and in Chicago, we just got hit with 90-degree temperatures when it's normally 60s, 90 Fahrenheit, and yeah, it's been brutal. It's like July weather in May, and everything's going to seed, so allergies have kicked into high gear. It's absolutely miserable if you're that kind.
No, I do sometimes get hay fever. Sounds to me like he's got a bad case of the man flu. So
it might be
a spoonful of concrete will harden him up a little bit.
I wish we could say it was because of the flaming hot Mountain Dew, but I don't think that's one of the after effects of it. If anything, it would burn it out of his system.
It seep through his pores into they'll be bad.
Well, and last episode, which hasn't aired for everybody quite yet, Cody has a drink suggestion for what to do with flaming hot Mountain Dew, and his note is not just pour it down the drain and thank yourself that you didn't drink it. He's actually made it into a flaming hot Mountain Dew margarita, which he oddly said was good. So I'm not going to try it. And he even tried to do on the rim of the glass flaming hot Cheetos. He said that did not work well.
I'm pretty sure. Look, I tell you what, if he tried that, I think we know what's now wrong with him. He's probably not well for it. But yeah, no, flaming hot Cheetos. Oh, I'm glad we don't have that sort of stuff in Australia. Gosh, doesn't sound pleasant at all.
There's a lot of things that we eat around here that are absolutely not pleasant. We have 17 different flavors of Pringles, so that way you could kind of put your flavors together. I'm sure that's nice somewhere. But yeah, flaming hot Cheetos, I've never understood that. Our Taco Bells, they had the Dorito Locos tacos, so it's basically a taco shell that's Doritos with.
See, I always thought with like the joke with Taco Bell is you cut out the middleman and just throw it in the toilet.
Hey, I have to say, for me and Gaming Jason, Taco Bell has been a family institution. That was my first job. That was his first job. That was his brother's first job. And you're not far off.
Well, no, you see, like, I mean, I do enjoy Mexican food. Like, we've got Guzman and Gomez here, or GwtG, as we G&G, whatever we call it. Mad Mex, we got things called sombreros, but yeah, Mexican food is usually quite popular here at the Howard House. My wife loves it. So yeah, we usually do that. But yeah, I've always avoided Taco Bell. Like, we've got a couple here in Australia. I remember one being my local restaurant, local supermarket in Castle Hill, like years and years ago, but it never did well. But there we go. We could talk about fast food and sports all day.
Probably, yeah. We just prior to coming on, we were talking sports. I will say the last thing, Taco Bell does its main sales after midnight for the bar crowd that's going home.
Yeah. So your bar crowd or your stoner crowd. Yeah. That's basically
pretty much. That's the food of the gods there. It helps get that. It's either going to force out the drunk or it'll
absorb the alcohol.
It's going to handle it one way or another. So now that we've got our, restaurant talk out of the way for the
Hmm.
wonderful food choices, I'm sure we'll do a different Bungles After Dark where we just talk food and drink, but that's not tonight. Tonight we're venturing into Minimoto with a top three,
Yeah.
and that's I'm glad to have you here because you're far more of an expert on Minimoto than I am. I'm an Ito guy. I love my snakes. I love my blood of Orochi. I love my
What?
Mizuki.
Why am I always hanging out with Edo players? Like, because Jason the Bruce is an Edo player, and we have like the Blood of Orochi sort of like banter going back and forth. In my local gaming group, there is also a very handsome man, or Mr. Handsome, Joel. He plays Ito, and also one of my closest friends started with ninjas, but also has inherited some Ito models. So I'm surrounded by snakes.
It should tell you something right there. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say that tells you something. You know what? Ito is that clan, and just more of a realistic thing. Ito's one of those that has just an aesthetic style that's really nice, and then mix in the fact that it really does not as much as Ryu does, but it does have that traditional samurai feel to it. Because you got your Masunagi, you got your Satoshi. Itsunagi's a really cool model, and then kind of with the snakes, you combine the samurai with the snake, and it kind of looks cool. I
I agree.
yeah, so that's part of the appeal. The other part of the appeal is, once you do a little bit of a wound, you watch your opponent's figures just slowly die a horrible, horrible death, and that's really pleasant too.
Yeah, I guess it's true. The yeah, I always because of that I always usually take Huru, I think he is Haru, the blacksmith
Yes.
for Minamoto, with the cleansing flame. So I would rather set fire to myself and deal with poison.
There's I've had that happen. So I remember it was Cody. The first time he did that, I had a bunch of poison on his guys. I do cleansing flame. Cody, you're gonna light yourself on fire. And he goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna catch you too." I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah,
thanks for the
yeah.
poison."
Yeah, I remember doing that in a game against Joel. I sort of like, everybody had sort of like all my, because I was playing Finest Still theme, which is probably the strongest theme out of the Minamoto. Um, I all my samurai had basically moved up as far as possible and then had sort of dealt with some poison in some sort of way. And the fact that I just set fire to everyone, including his Ito guys, I think he was very surprised by that. And also, flames are easier to deal with than poison, so you can
Yes.
pad yourself out. But yeah, I like the Minamoto faction because it's like I like their playstyle. Like I like their strong sort of armor, like they're very high armor, the high wound. Everybody's got wound 7, and that it goes hand in hand with the fact that you can't have the highest armor without obviously sacrificing speed. So that's probably Minamoto's downfall, is like a lack of speed. So everybody's usually movement 4 or lower.
Yeah. Now, is there anybody lower? Because I was looking through everything. I saw it's mostly 4, which is pretty much the average.
There's one model, the blacksmith, that gives
the dedicated blade.
Yeah, he gives the dedicated blade. He is
Kaija.
Kaija, thank you. Kaija. It's Kaija, I think it is. Yeah, he's movement 3. But that's because he's got a backpack on and he's got a lot of stuff to carry around. So
if he's going to be making a sword on the fly, yeah, he's going to be slowed down a bit.
Yeah, he's also carrying the solid iron brick that he's forging the blade. So he's definitely a little preoccupied with forging this awesome blade to have a high movement.
Yeah, it's in Minimoto when I fought against them, I found them to be a challenge, and sometimes playing as an Ito player, and I've played against them also using the Tanakas from Shiho, so the wolves. It's that high armor is a challenge. But at least with Ito, we have that advantage where, okay, if we could at least get 1 point through, then maybe you're taking 1 or 2 others, depending on how much Blood of Orochi we put on it. Otherwise, I'm completely depending that I'm going to get a high success level against you, and that I don't have my usual damage dice where I'm rolling 1s and 2s.
Yeah, so obviously, just that the armor Minamoto have, obviously, which is usually no lower than 3, except for the blacksmiths and the
unblessed.
The unblessed don't have them, nor do the ice maidens. The Hoshi ladies. They don't have them. Well, so far we've only seen 2 profiles, and I don't want to. There's a third profile, but there's no card for it yet. So they don't have any armor, nor do the unblessed, nor do the blacksmiths. But everybody's minimum armor 3. So armor 3, which is your basic samurai for most factions, on like your regular Ashigaru models, is amazing. And then you start going into armor 4 in your samurai. So for example, samurai Minamoto Nico has armor 4, and Minamoto Yuji has armor 4.
Yes.
And then you go from there. Tetsu probably has the lowest armor of 1 because he's got the little bracing on the shield. And I think the other bear doesn't have armor. He's got toughness 2.
Got tough 2, which is that's huge. And I could say tough is actually, even tough 1 is really good, but tough 2 is awesome. We last Wednesday, we've changed our gaming night, and my whole week, I don't even know what day of the week is. I've played Thursday nights religiously for Jason's 20 something, so figured 15 years we always play on Thursday nights. And just because of schedules, we've switched to a Wednesday, so it's messing with my head. But we played, and we're trying to get a new player in, and he was playing Onis, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm getting slaughtered." I'm like, "Well, dude, first you've got like 12 plus wounds, so don't worry about it." Because he's like, "I'm getting hit with a success level 7 bow shot. I can't do that much damage, And well, the 6 points of damage. You took 7 points, take it down to 6. You're half health, so you're gonna survive. Just go and crush the guy's skull, consume his soul. Everything's fine." But tough 2. I mean, if you're rolling success level 1 or 2, which is very likely, we'll just take the bow shots out of it because sometimes those are a weird aberration. But just in melee, success 1 or 2, because you're throwing in one defense die going against my 3, or maybe you're doing 2 because you decide you play defensive, or whatever. You're happy to get that, and usually you could poke through. But with toughness 2. I gotta get up to the 7, 8. I gotta get like to 8, 9 on 2. I think even higher than that, but probably 8 to get. No, you're gonna have to get to like 9 or 10 to get to 3 wounds just to put through damage. 1 point. It's like, ugh, that's intense. Plus that big ass bear. Sorry, he he has his own personal joys if you decide to engage him with melee, which we might talk about if he made one of our top 3s.
Yeah. Well, also the strength with Minamoto is the fact that majority of the units have the bear stands alone ability. So being able to be Indomitable 1 when you're outside of 3 inches of a friendly model, that's good, but you shouldn't rely on that. I find that's a nice little thing, like a nice gimmick to have, but I don't rely on it because I think if you start spreading out on the field, and don't get me wrong, a 24-inch, what is it? Sorry, 2 foot. Yeah, a 2 foot, 2 foot by 2 foot board. 3 inches makes a bit of a deal, and like obviously you just don't want to outposition yourself just to rely on that ability. So I think to myself, I don't rely on bear stance alone. It's great to have, especially if you're low numbers. Like if you're playing fine steel, you're probably going to be maybe maximum 6 models, maybe 7 if you're lucky, if you push it. But also in the other themes, like which rely on the Ashigaru, like you want to have some bodies in there. You shouldn't rely on it because you're just gonna, you're not going to set yourself up. But if when you start losing models, that bear stands alone ability comes into effect, and it saved a lot of my guys. So I like it as well. And plus, also, the majority of your guys are steadfast. So even if you're frightened, you can allocate your dice wherever you want. That's really, really good.
Well, and even more. So I'm gonna jump in really quick on the steadfast. The steadfast, I think, is huge. Not only do you get to allocate the dice the way you want, but if you're, I always hate it when I have to make that fear check. I'm the active player. I'm gonna go attack something. I blow that fear check, and I just lost the activation. It's done. Steadfast is okay. You take the -1 penalty. Go ahead, and then you're in on combat, and you're not even frightened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you can be like, so it's really good. So you could just go into something that causes fear, and you can just throw defense dice at it and go, I'm just going to hold you in that position while I do other stuff, because you're slow. You want to as a Minamoto player, you're slow, so what you want to do is you want to try to control the battle where you can, and obviously you want to get into fights and combats like as soon as possible. So I like taking Blizzard, because that evens up the field, I think. And then obviously from there I want to get into combat like as soon as I possibly can.
Okay. Yeah.
But also Minamoto's like other like event cards, such as like Hasty Bear allows your samurai or anybody with that bear ability to activate that when needed. And also probably the best card is Just a Scratch, half the damage, and you can take 2 of them. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's an event, so you don't have to designate it to anyone in particular. Oh, now somebody must be coming home or whatnot. So you'll hear our dogs in the background. The cat's outside, so you won't hear him rolling around me either. And our snake, and we do have a snake as a pet, but you won't hear him. He's really quiet. I love him.
Of course, Ito players. If I could have a bear, I would have a bear.
That might be slightly illegal.
Probably.
Unless you're in Russia. That's fine.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, Just a Scratch at the event is amazing because you can basically when you can play it up, you have to play it before the damage roll. You can't play it after the damage roll. But like if you know that you're going to take a big hit, and then sometimes you might want to do that because you might go, I'm reactive, but I'm going to go all attack, and I know you're the active player, so you're going to go all attack. In this situation, that's happened to me. I will take the hit, half the damage, and I'm like, I might take 4 wounds because of my armor is quite high. And then in my head, I'm like, well, I don't care taking that wound, because then all of a sudden my abilities activate from 4 wounds or more. And then, especially for samurai, and then with Just the Scratch, I'll half the damage, no problem. And then I'll hit back with a big massive hit, and just usually kills most people. I've done it a couple times to Ghost. Because I'll take the hit from Ghost, but be prepared, you're about to be deleted. They have, so their playstyle is very, I think they're very, very good alongside Rio or Prefecture of Rio. I think Minamoto are a very good beginner faction.
Yes.
And I think their playstyle is very basic. It's very true to the game. Especially we move forward, we get into combat. We have some shooting ability, but not great, but it's still pretty good. But we also get there, and we'll try to control the zones where we can, and we'll try to, if you kill enemies quick enough, they won't be able to score objectives and everything. That's what you're trying to aim for. But that's been to the detriment of me sometimes, because you've killed everything, and you're like, oh wait, it's not a scoring zone. I could have got more points or something like that. But yeah, it's just, I think in a combat game, they've got some very good combat abilities, and that makes them a very good beginner faction. Plus, they've got a broad range of options of where you want to go.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I totally agree with you that I think I would probably say they're probably the best starter faction out there. If you're looking for something that's going to be, 1, forgiving, 2, relatively straightforward, Minimoto is really the way to go. They have some hard-hitting guys. They could take the damage, so it's going to ease you into the game. About the only aspect of the game that it really doesn't quite get into is the quote-unquote magic portion of it, because they just you have the Ice Maidens, the Hoshi, but they're not something like the CJ and Ito or some. Ryu really doesn't have much of that either, because they're pretty much, they have 1 or 2. They got Ryoka-san or Ryoko, whatever, I can't remember, the time dude. But he has 3 feats, but 2 of them are once per game, and then he's pretty much done, except for fighting. And then that's it for they got a healing Sisei and Daisuke.
So Minamoto don't have access to any heal.
Thank God. I mean, did that come out of my mouth? I'm sorry.
Sure. Okay. They don't have because they don't necessarily need it, because they've got, majority of them have got 7 wounds, which is already above the standard human. Makes sense. I mean, they go out into the mountains and they fight bears, and they fight the Bakemono hordes. So it makes sense that they're durable. But they don't have access to heal. They don't have access to like combo. So they don't have access to counter strike defense. They don't have access to like a lot of sort of certain movement shenanigans.
No sidestep defense for you.
Yeah, no sidestep defense, no sidestep attack, no. What else was I going to say? Also, no like vitality, so no being able to like gain an activation token or boost my movement. Nothing like that. You did touch on the ice, the Hisho, the Hoshi, I should say, the Hoshi girls. That their cold shatter ability is amazing. Just so like obviously when you win that opposed key test, like if the model was would suffer double wounds, and if that makes your guys with the sticks basically better, it turns the enemy into pinatas.
Yes.
So I like some of you're right. They don't have a lot of magic, but some of the magic they have. Yeah, some of the magic they have is pretty good. A lot of it is sort of benefit the army, or instead of like target a guy and make him really, really the best.
Yeah. Not a lot of opposed key tests too, like not control, not
they don't have control.
Yeah.
Because that's not what they're about. But also majority of their guys are resistance 2, or can gain access to resistance 2, which because control is probably their weakness, because you spend all that time moving into that position and you're all going to line up where you want to be. The moment that someone can come in as a control player and go, okay, you move away, you go away, that would just be the detriment to you. So like resistance 2 does help with that, makes you guys a little bit more reliable, especially for like your Ashigaru, which are going to be a low key generating sort of unit. But I mean, you guys are armor 3 for Ashigaru. That's amazing. Like, I don't think, as I mentioned before, I think it's great. But there's options. For a beginner, also for a faction with which sort of just got recently a bit of a lot more sort of models, having more options is really, really good. I like their new ranged models. I think they're fantastic, especially the character. I think he's 15 rice. What's his
Sora?
No, not Sora. I think his Akim. Is it Akim?
Oh, Akimi.
Akim. Yes. Akimi. That's it.
He's, I think he's 16.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, he's 16. Yeah, Akim. I think is amazing. He's really, really good. He almost made my top 3, but
okay.
But yeah, was really good. But look, yeah.
Well, speaking of that, why don't we kind of get rolling into that? That was a good discussion on Minimoto, which is good because again, it's something that we haven't really covered much in our local meta. Cody, who plays everything, he's played it a few times, and then one of our other guys who's played it, and he's been away and he's coming back. He played it before, early on. But we don't have too many Minimoto players, so it was good to kind of get the overview of it and getting some thoughts on it for someone who plays it fairly regularly. So that's nice. But I'd like to know what your top 3 are, so that way we could see if I'm on the right track or not. If I'm gonna, I'll be honest, I'm gonna be getting a Minimoto army because a certain someone who plays every army that we know doesn't like the paint job that he did on it, and so he's got a whole nother Minimoto army coming. I don't know how he does it.
Okay,
it's stupid. So we're getting the army. So
well, that's good. You get to play the superior faction. And maybe you'll win some games. Sorry, I thought it was
painful. That's all right.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. That's okay. It's the same sort of banter that myself and Jason have on the getting table sort of section. So look, normally I play very samurai heavy, but then I thought to myself, like in a top 3, I didn't want to just basically go, here's another samurai, because there would be. So I try to pick my favorite samurai or my regular go-to samurai. And then what I did is I decided to go through like the Ashigaru and potentially the bears as well. So that sort of gives you a bit of a hint as to where my top 3 has gone on with. But I'll start with number 3. Would be Aya, or Master May. Sorry, I'm just going to call her Aya. She's the Ashigaru Gunzo, so she's the sergeant. which is 16 rice. She's the one that comes in the starter box set, and she's the one with the eye patch. I think she made my top 3 because I think, one, she's going to be in your starter box set, so I think she's a good model to have. And if you decide to go Ashigaru heavy, she's going to probably be one of your top picks. Melee pool of 3, stock standard. She can boost that for 3, which is really, really good. Movement 4. I mean, she's a Minitmoto. You're going to get used to that. She's got a Tetsubo, which gives her push attack 0 and sweep attack 1. Now, her Tetsubo doesn't have as much strength, which is +1, but she's got spare standalone. The main reason I love her is because of endurance. So she suffers no melee penalties for being exhausted. That's really good, especially on a 3 melee pool unit. She's got fearless, just makes her even better, and she's obviously got resistance 2, which we talked about. I like her veteran ability for 1 key, and it's an instant, so you can do it any time. So obviously with that, this model does not suffer melee dice penalties due to statuses until the current melee exchange is resolved. So that's really, really helpful, especially for somebody who's learning and being able to pull that off. Plus also for people who are obviously, funny enough, veteran players, that gives you a really good ability as well to have. Her second key ability I really like, which costs 1 key. It's an instant. It's a once per turn ability. This model's controller gains a pass token. That's something good to have up your sleeve in case you need it. I like having options on my models. That's what I like doing. Minamoto, you're going to see sweep attack across the board. I like her because she also got push attack 0. So if you need to just push an enemy out of the zone of control or away from an objective, that gives you that ability. I think for 16 rush, she's a very good, reliable fighter, and I think she punches above her weight class. I definitely think. Now there is also another card I would probably give her, which comes in the special card pack.
Is it the cycle deck or is it the?
The cycle deck. It's called the Mountain Moves. Now, I'll read out the card. So it costs you 1 rice, and you can only have 1 of it. And it says, while no friendly models are within 3 inches of the attached model, this model gains Vengeance enemy. Requirements is it has to be an Ashigaru model. So you can give Aya, who is already a pretty decent fighter, Vengeance enemy. So anything that she's fighting, and then obviously she's gonna you could send her out on her own, and she becomes super reliable, super dependable, and then also the bear stands alone kicks in, and she's got Vengeance, and she becomes Indomitable 1. Like, it's just amazing.
Yeah, she's able to hold off 2 figures. You don't have to worry about making fear checks.
Yeah.
And then if somebody's going to try, the only drawback, and I'm hesitant to say it's a drawback. Give me a second. Let me pull her up here. There she is. I'm hesitant to say it's a drawback, but it is. She's a 1 key model.
Yeah.
And so if someone's going to try a control, if they're going to try a hypnotic gaze to take away an activation from you, if they're going to do something to immobilize you through an opposed key feat, she does have resistance too. So
that helps.
It helps. I mean, look at it this way. If she's rolling 1 die, she's going to be, if she rolls a 6, that means she scores an 8, which means she's exceeding what someone is going to be throwing on 2 dice if they're a 2 key model. So it gives her a fighting chance. It's not guaranteed, but it's better than just throwing 1 die.
Yeah.
And you max.
So that's obviously control is sort of like, so her low key is definitely her downfall, plus also her 1 strength Tetsubo.
Mm-hmm.
But that's probably her detriment. But for what you gain, you can definitely overlook it. Plus, if you really, really, really didn't want, if you deal with control, there's another event card which is called Absolute Loyalty, which she becomes, if you give it to her, for example, she becomes immune to control. definitely worth taking. I believe Absolute Loyalty comes in the starter set, I'm pretty sure. If not, it definitely comes in the special card pack. But yeah, I mean, that's what you could do. Sorry. I just realized. I just realized it's only for Samurai, so you would give this to Rio. Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, you definitely want to give it to Rio. He's my favorite for controlling.
Yeah, I always give him Absolute Loyalty. Sorry, that was just mindset there. I just I was like Gunzo, equals Samurai. Well, my brain just went but you're right. If she didn't have a weak spot, she'd be overpowered for 16 rise. So I think that's where it was. But also, part of the Minamoto thing is your Ashigaru are going to be very low key generating, which I'm pretty sure is in most factions. Ashigaru is usually one key generating models. So I think even in Rio, most of the Gunzos are one key generating.
No, in Rio the Gunzos like Hiromasa and what's the other dude? Anyway, both of those are 2 key. Same with the Gunzos in Ito. So that I found a little odd in Minimoto, but again, it's probably balancing out the fact that you have armor 3, you have resistance,
and you got best ends alone. Yeah.
So it makes sense. And 7 wounds.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but so I think so. I think you're right. That'll be probably her sort of like the chink and the weakness in the armor there to basically the fact that she's low key. But I mean, for 16 rise, I think she's amazing. Like especially in the starter box set, she's really good.
I agree. I really agree.
I think the model has aged a little bit, and there was the retainer model that you could get at special events for her. I mean, if you're lucky enough to get that, go ahead, grab it. But I mean, I would stick with the one in the starter box set. I mean, that's me personally. She's got a lot of character for an Ashigaru.
She does. I think we'll be surprised when we get to my top 3. I'm not going to give away anything, but
I think also she may be the only female Gunzo actually from memory. So she's that's equal.
I mean, Akane is kind of a female. She's a heavy person in Gunso. I'm just saying. I mean, if you're gonna, I don't want to say that you're discriminating against Ito there unconsciously, but half of her's woman, half of her's snake. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, all right. Well, okay. Well, then she's one of the few female Gunzo, so equal equality there, which is good to have.
There we go. Okay, now I can live with
that. Excuse me. Okay, so so this is hard for me for my second choice, and it only eliminated because I was like, what do I take more? And I was like, what I would obviously never leave home without it would always be my top 1 profile, I reckon. So my second one is Yuyo Kuma, the bear, the new big bear.
The new big bear. Okay.
The 25 rice bear. He's my second pick.
Okay.
Because I played with him a fair few times. I've seen him play, and I played against him a couple of times. And I've seen him played a fair few times. I think for 25 rice, this guy is amazing. 50 mil base, obviously, so he's a big boy. 4 melee, fantastic. He's an animal. He's a bear. He's got movement 4, but he doesn't gain slow from blizzard, which is really good. His bear arms, so he has the right to bear arms. He's got brutal 1, +3 strength, charging bonus, slam attack 0, and stun attack. Then he has stun attack 1 and powerful attack 1. I think they're great on a 4 melee pool model. Then he's got bite, which gives you pierce 2, sharp 2, grapple attack 1, and throw attack 1. So you have options there, which I really like. He only has 2 key, but I mean, he's an animal. He's got bear stance alone, fear 6. He's also immune to prone, which is really good. Light-footed, steadfast, and this is where we're talking about the toughness 2 before. Toughness 2 is amazing. His bear aura ability, so if he has 4 wounds, he gains terror, so that that makes him even more reliable. So if they pass the fear test, they got to redo it unless they got bravery. I think bravery features on a bit in samurai models and stuff, which is really, really good. I like his other unique ability. So unless this model is surprised or exhausted, enemies start the melee exchange involved with him with a gain a prone marker, unless they performed a stand-up action or a jump-up trait, which is really, really good. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he can be recruited in any theme. So he's the same as the other bear Tetsu. This guy is amazing. I think so this is why he was in my top two. This is why he was. I couldn't pick between him and my top one profile, because I was like, this guy is so good. His profile is amazing for Minamoto, especially for that 25 rice. But I was just like, my top one, like I would never go home without him. So I was like, I gotta pick that one. But yeah, I think, and the sheer amount of play testing that they had to do on this model to not break him just goes to show you how powerful he is. So yeah, I like him a lot. I think he's great.
He's good. He's one of those where I have to look at. So once I start getting above 22, 23 rice cost, right around that range or higher, I have to look at it and say, all right, I have to keep in mind, if I'm playing 100 rice match, this is a quarter of my points. I need to know either one, I'm going to get a return on that by how many models it's either going to tie up or eliminate, or if it has a very specific purpose, like I'm going to put it here and nothing, he's going to Gandalf it. You shall not pass. That's it. I keep you out of the zone or whatever. And I think he could do that job well. I mean, just the fact that if he bases you or you base him, you're prone.
Yeah, unless you got jump up, but I mean, you have to be active, don't you, to do that?
Jump up, you'll be the active player, and then you immediately get up and attack. And you can take a stand-up action. I mean, there are models that are immune to prone. Like all the Butos, they're immovable, so they're gonna resist that. So that's a hard counter for them. But you don't see that a lot in other factions. Of course, it would be in my son's filthy Silver Moon faction, because they cheat. They're good at everything.
I don't. I don't like Ito, but I hate Silver Moon more.
Silver Moon's just disgusting. That's a whole different discussion we'll have another day.
But you're right. For 25 rice, he has to get a lot of work done. And in my games that I've used him, like I just send him after the chaff. So basically, I go, I'll send him after like Ashigaru models or like the low point models, because that way I know if I can chew through them and I can do a lot of damage very, very quickly, especially with the charging bonus, if I was to charge onto them. And so like, I would knock them prone right away off the bat. They're -1 dice. They'll probably fail their bravery test, because they're usually a one key model I'm attacking, and then I will definitely cause a lot of damage on them, plus with my +3 strength. I would be picking, you could, in a couple of turns, you can make the 25 rice up pretty easily with this guy.
The only things that I can see, and well, let me talk about one other benefit. So in a faction that has movement is somewhat an issue, and I would argue movement for Minimoto is probably as good or bad as others, because everybody has 4 is pretty much a standard. But again, it's one of those things that is kind of ingrained that you don't see in the regular stock line troops. You don't see things like light-footed or cloud walk or anything like that. Him having Lightfoot, a 25-foot, 50 mil model with light-footed, that's just, it's scary, because all right, well, you know what? I'm going to put my terrain down. If you're playing a match and you're setting terrain up, well, I'm going to put some difficult terrain here. He goes, okay, so that's fine. Hold my beer. I'm coming at you. It doesn't slow him down.
I did that with one of my first sort of games learning Minimoto. I did that with Tetsu. I put him in behind, so I played Blizzard, so everybody was like, obviously had slow, and everybody could only do basic movement. And then I just ran him up like first turn. I was just like, I'm going to position him up very, very quickly. 6 got into 12 inches, and I positioned him behind sort of like a barricade. And then my opponent was just like, oh, okay, yeah, well, you're gonna have to move through that. And then I was just like, yeah, he does have light-footed, and then they were like, okay. And then turn 2, I was able to get a charge straight into knock the person prone because of Tetsu's ability. But this guy, if I was to do that, he would like pulverize the thing that he's going to be fighting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that's what you probably want to do. Is with this guy, you probably want to run him up with Blizzard, so that way he's got range defense, but also he's got tough 2, so he's not going to take a hit. So the range defense will counter out his large, and then you put him into a position where he's going to do the most damage into a particular unit the next turn. And then you're right. For a slow moving faction, this guy's going to be like, I can move through where I can get to where I need to very quickly.
Yeah.
Also, he's got steadfast. I mean, that's helpful, but I mean, like it's he's also got bear stands alone as well. So
yeah,
like he's trained.
Steadfast is going to help him when he's going up against those. There are some models that, even though they may be Fear 6 and your Fear 6 will counteract it, it will help him at least still be able to move in and do what needs to be done. So it's nice to have. Was it really necessary? I don't know.
Yeah, it gives you an option. It's a little perk. Yeah, it might help you in that situation because you're relying on it. This is a chance based game with dice. So if you roll poorly, having steadfast might benefit you. But yeah, definitely you could, just like Aya, you could send him out on his own with bear stands alone, and you can do a lot of damage very quickly.
Yeah, and just to touch last on the steadfast point, again, bad rolls, but again, in a faction that cannot get extra activation tokens, not losing it is huge. And especially on a 25-point model. I don't want to go in and say, oh, I'm going to go after this one model, and it's a Fear 6 model, okay, and it's not terror, but so many rules. Anyway, it's the way. Basically, you have to make the test, even though you may be equal in fear, and you botch it. Well, all right, so I'm down a die. Big deal. I'm still coming at you, and 9 times out of 10, you're either a big scary fighting thing, or you're just a big scary witch that really can't fight. And I'm a big bear, and I'm still going to crush you on 3 dice. So, lucky you.
Yeah. And definitely, if you're going to be fighting like that witch in combat, well, a witch ain't going to have armor regularly. He's not going to have armor. But like, I mean, this guy's going to do with that strength. So with that brutal 1, so on 4 melee, it's going to be fantastic. +3 strength. Yeah, and if you can get the charging bonus off, fantastic. If not, it's not. It's nice to have. But like, the fact that you have then stun attack, which Minamoto have access to heaps of stun attack, which is really, really good. And for obviously a model, so for armies that are basically like, when we get there, we want to sort of like drain make the enemy weaker. Stun is going to come into effect a lot with a lot of their models. Really, really good. And then you can give him powerful attack if you really, really want to. But I mean, what, +5? Oh, sorry, powerful attacks is it's not strong.
It's +3. So if you went in with bare arms on a charge, you're +3 for the melee weapon, and go powerful attack, +6 because of powerful attack, and then the charge adds another 2. You're +8.
Yeah, +8.
That's gross.
Yeah, but it's amazing.
Even Minimoto wearing their Minimoto Samurai with their armor 4 are still taking a +4 hit. So even I, with my crappy damage dice roll, when I roll that 2, I'm still going to be on a 10.
But also the fact that he's got option, which I like, is so if you know you're going up against something a bit crunchy, you definitely want to bite it. You're not going to you're not going to swipe it to death. So Pierce 2 and Sharp 2, getting rid of tough, like really, really, really. I like having options, and this gives me 2 really good options for like combat on a 25 rice model. You can pick what you're going to like. You're going to pick what you're going to get in the combat with, and you're going to beat it up and do a lot of damage to it. But yet again, control would probably be this guy's. Key 2, but like he doesn't have resistance, so I mean.
He's a little vulnerable, but at least the key 2 will help. I would say his bigger fear, the 2 bigger things that I'm concerned with him, and again, they're if I had to put weaknesses on him, the 2 things I'm concerned with is he is vulnerable to range, if you're not taking Blizzard for some reason, or even if you take Blizzard for that turn 1, but turn 2 you don't have it and you don't have the initiative. You're pretty much guaranteed that if they have an archer and he's anywhere in range, he's going to get lit up.
Yeah,
the tough
definitely.
2 will help mitigate it, but you're figuring medium range 5, nobody's moved, nobody's ran. The huge takes that down to 3, or large takes that down to 3s. So 3s on 3 dice. If he gets an 8, that's a success level 5. That could be some serious damage incoming. And this is the other thing that I thought was kind of, again, it's he's a giant bear. He only has 7 wounds. So there's no extra wounds on that. So it's a little bit of a vulnerability. I'll also say, just speaking, anything that would throw an additional damage, an additional condition's probably not the right word for it, but I'm going to go with that. A poison, a fire, a bleed effect on it. Well, and tough 2 is going to mitigate that except for fire. So more than likely you're going to ignore those things. So just forget what I just said, which is usually what I tell the kids when I have a coach them. Just ignore me. I don't know what I'm talking about. But fire would be something that he would have to worry about. So when you decide to do that cleansing flame around him to get rid of some conditions on somebody else, make sure his furry self is not nearby.
You know what's really, really nasty, and I've done it a couple of times, and I felt bad, but at the same time, it's glorious to get up. Is the fact that obviously this guy is immune to Blizzard, so you can move him up 6 and then move him up 12. Is a fire kami, which you would have access to if you have as a Minamoto player. If you take a blacksmith, can move 6. So you can keep a fire kami right next to him, and then at the start of the turn go, cool, this guy's got flaming attacks. So I'm going to throw a flaming bear at you with +1 strength, who's already +3 or +1 bite. Like, then he does fire damage. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do with all combinations. But I thought to myself, like, his profile is really, really good for the rice point. I mean, it's like, yes, it's a lot of money, so a lot of rice that you're sinking into for this character, but he is really, really good at what he does, which is get into combat and smash stuff around. So I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I was like, oh, what do I take? Do I go like these guys, or do I go, do I start pulling in from the different elements? And I thought, no, I've got to start pulling in from the different certain elements. So bringing me to my top pick for Minamoto in terms of profile would be Minamoto Nico.
Okay.
For me, it is always a choice between Minamoto, Nico, or Yuji. They both have their differences, but Minamoto and Nico, I always will probably lean towards because for his rise, you get so much. So first off, he's a samurai. Fantastic. That's what we like. That's what I like playing with. He's a melee pool 4. He can boost that for 3, which is great. He's got range. Doesn't matter. He's got 7 wounds. He's got a Tetsubo, which has got push attack 0. Great. Stun attack 0. Fantastic. Then he has +2 strength with his Tetsubo. He's got armor 4. Bear stands alone. Bravery. Melee prowess 1. Resistance 2. Great. He's got split attack. This is what I love him for. And he's obviously got steadfast. He's then got savage beating, which the card does say. So his key ability here, as you can see, it says 1, but there's been an errata. It should cost 2. So for 2 key, you're the active model. You gain combo attack 0, which is great, especially on split attack. And the other reason why I love him is Yokomen. So 1, you're the active. So 1 key. When you're the active player, models involved in melee exchange with this model lose dodge until the current activation is resolved. For 18 rice, I think he's fantastic, and he definitely punches above his weight class. For a lot of expensive samurai, I think he can take them down pretty easily. Bear supremacy is probably his unique effect is amazing. So the simple bear supremacy. When you have 4 wounds, you gain sweep attack 0, and instead of doing half damage, you do full damage. That's just amazing. So the fact that I can knock you prone, and instead of doing half damage, I can do my full damage on you is amazing. I personally like getting, when it comes to samurai. Like, I don't like it when they get knocked prone, because obviously I'm a very slow moving faction. It's going to take me an activation to stand up. So that's, I think, if you're playing, one of the weaknesses for Minamoto is definitely getting knocked prone. There are some models that are immune to it, a couple of them, but yeah, for being for a slow moving faction, knockdown prone will be your detriment. 18 Rust, I think, is amazing.
I don't disagree. I've always been impressed with that one. And again, I think one of the other benefits of it, he is 18. So when you're looking, you said you had to choose between, and again, in Minimoto, your premier, you've essentially got 3 samurai. You have Nico, you have Rio, and you have Yuji. And you're really looking at Yuji and Nico, and you're like, okay, they both kind of fit the same role. They're melee specialists, because they're not really supporting the army in any way, but really in Minimoto, that's the one thing they lack is, in general, support of the army, because they have the bear stands alone. They kind of want to be off on their own. So now, okay, so I got to look. Do I do 20 for Yuji, or do I do 18 for Nico? Well, if I need to have 2 extra points for equipment, events, enhancements, Nico wins every day. And I like him because Yuji, I'll put his card up here in a minute. Yuji only has 1 key feat. It's a good one. But
so
yeah.
I'll happily argue about Yuji and Nico all day, every day. Because funny enough, the Alistair, who won Grandmasters, he went on the podcast and said, "Oh, Yuji's rubbish," and I was like, "I disagree with you entirely." Sorry to say, I love Yuji a lot, especially if, this model. If you're starting, he's in your starter box set. He's premier. He's amazing because he comes stock standard with Indomitable 1 already.
Yes.
So that's what you're paying the extra price for, and also the fact that he has Mighty Blow, which gives him that key ability, and it's an instant, so you can do it anytime. That's pretty nasty. But what you're paying for is the fact that he's got Indomitable 1 already into a faction that gives out Indomitable 1 correct, with bear stands alone. So if he's by himself, he becomes Indomitable 2.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so Nico is a crowd control person. This guy will go toe to toe with bigger models and go, cool, I'm going to do a big down. He gets strong with Mighty Blow. And with that +2 Tetsubo, he'll do a lot of damage.
He'll do a lot of damage, and even when you take him further down, suddenly he starts to get, so he could have the Mighty Blow, and he gets, with Bear's Fury, if he gets down to those 4 marked wound boxes, he gets powerful attack 0. So you're like, all right, I can do powerful attack 0 all day. So now I'm adding 3 to the 2, so I'm +5, throwing 3 dice if I have the key to do it. He's, I don't disagree. He is a very good model. It's, for me, I guess it's, and the more that I play this game, the more that I realize it becomes sort of an economics.
Yeah.
If I could put him in there, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do it. But if I need to get a couple extra points here or there, I'm going to default to Nico. And sometimes I'll just do that. His stun attack is 1, his push attack. Again, what he does is excellent. And it really is a hard choice between the 2 of them.
So my brief chat over Facebook with Alistair. Well, first off, I congratulated him because I was like, I'm very glad to see the superior faction win. So well done. I was also kind of excited to see what he was planning to do for his Grandmaster model. But then also it was mainly my conversation with him of I said, look, I think Yuji's great for his points, but yet he's also quite expensive. But you're gaining that Indomitable 1. So to be fair, you could also give Nico Indomitable +1 as well by giving him is it Obstinate Bear or
I think you're right. Give me a second.
That gives him an Indomitable 1. So he then becomes 19 Rice, but he doesn't have the powerful attack. But yeah, I think you're right. For his price of 18 Rice, Nico does amazing. The combo attack with split attack and doing combo savage beating is amazing. I've gone up to cheapest. So there you go. Obstinate Bear. Sorry.
Well, and what's even more gross, if you want to have Yuji, could have Indomitable 3.
Correct. You could do that. And I love how it says infinite. So you can give Indomitable 1 to all of your guys if you really, really wanted to, if you wanted to pay that extra little premium. Yeah, really, really good. So you could even give that to Aya, for example. Unfortunately, enhancement cards can't be given to animals, but who knows what's going to come down the line for them. But back to Nico. Combo attack 0 is amazing. That's where you'll counter your. So combo attack is already probably one of the strongest combat abilities out there, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's probably second to Counter-Strike defense, and then I think I think sidestep defense is a third. I think it's really, really good, but combo attack is stuff that right off the bat, at the beginning of the game, you're asking the questions of like, oh, what ability does this guy have, or what ability does this guy have, and if you see combo attack on the cards, you're like, I want to kind of like be careful of that model because he can do some damage. But yeah, I've gone against two of the wolf guys, and I basically, in my first activation I was in combat. Second activation I moved so I moved around the 180, and I was able to get into both of the ranges of the Open Rebellion. I can't remember their names at this moment, and then I was able to do split attack with combo, and that was pretty brutal on them. Yeah, that's what he's for. He's to take out multiple targets with that split attack, and obviously combo, and obviously stripping something of dodge, which is a bit of a detriment to you, is also very handy and useful to have.
He's a model that if I'm going to consider to kind of put on an island on their own to get to maximize bear stands alone, he's the one that I am most comfortable doing that with. And I also find that split attack is probably one of those things. If you're looking to take your game, so this would be for new players and old players. If you're looking to take your gameplay to a next level, split attack is probably that one trait. And I'll admit, I haven't mastered it. I haven't mastered a lot of things, but that's one of those things that I just haven't mastered. This is one of those, if you think about it, you're going to engage two models, and for one activation, you get 2 attacks.
Yeah,
at the cost of 1 die. If you
one melee dice. But you've got 4 dice, so that's really good. And then you could boost it if you really wanted to. He generates 2 ki, a turn. You're going to get to 6 very quickly if you don't utilize it. You can boost it to your melee pool if you really wanted to, but I'd be using it really in my my gaining combo attack or stripping dodge of. That's what I'll be using it for. But no, I think he's for 18 rise. I think he's amazing. If you compare him to some of the samurai in Rio at the same price, he outclasses all of them for 18 rise.
I would say, yeah, at that level. And again, because you're in looking at Rio, it's rough, but in ability wise, he's got it with Savage Beating at 1. At 2. It's at 2. Savage Beating at 2. Is really good, but that armor 4, it gives him that leg up, and then the resistance. Just in general, he's got a lot of good stat lines. The only thing that I would say that keeps them in check if you were to go to head Minimoto versus Ryu is the fact that Ryu has an abundance of critical strike, which
critical strike when it goes off, it is painful, but it's not something that.
You can't rely on.
You can't rely on. It's a nice thing to have, and I do know for a fact that there's games that I played against Ryu where the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go critical strike," and it gives you pause, because you're like, "I really hope, that's not going to happen." And there's ways to mitigate it. There's there's
clan armors and things like that.
There's armors out there that you can do that, but you're spending heaps of money to avoid a potential. Like it might happen, it might not happen.
Right.
To be fair, though, if critical strike were to go against my Nico model, I'd be very upset. But also, that being said, just the fact that his basic attacks of push attack 0 and stun attack 0 is amazing.
That's stun attack 0. That's what if I'm looking at the difference between Yuji and Nico, that's the one that kind of pushed me over the edge towards Nico. is that stun attack 0. It seems like it's not a big deal, but it really is.
Yeah, so I mean, you give out the stun marker and you do the damage roll. Like it's an extra bonus, which is great. And imagine that on split attack. So you can go, cool, whop you on the head, have a think about it. And then that adds to it. Like those two abilities are great. Push attack, I love push attack because it's like, cool, get out of my zone. Like it's something you can, I mean, unless they're immovable, like this is a little bit different. But like it's great. It's a good thing to have, especially when you're trying to control areas. Having a really good competent combat fighter with push attack is something useful to have, because if you're like, no, I don't want to deal with you, on 4 melee dice you can push it away. Or I mean, it does leave you open, I guess. But that being said, as long as you're the active player with push attack, it gives you that benefit.
Yes.
So yeah. That's why Nico was my top pick.
Perfect.
So yeah,
I don't necessarily disagree with that at all. All right, so we got your top 3. So honorable mentions. What do you got for honorable mentions?
Right. So first off, I'll probably go honorable mention. We're talking about samurai. We'll talk about, and we talked about Yuji, so I don't need to bring him up as an honorable mention. But my other honorable mention is Rio, Minamoto Rio. This guy is also usually my second pick. He's the cheaper of the samurai, fluff-wise, or lore-wise, I should say, not fluff, lore. So basically, he used to be this incredible fighter. He had served the Bear clan for many, many years, and he had survived some horrific events. So, for example, the Devastator. Was it Rushka the Devastator, the one that's holding the Torii Gate? He survived an encounter with that guy. He took a Torii Gate to the face. But so basically, lore-wise, like he's no longer the hero that he used to be. He's battle ravaged over time. Mm-hmm. So 17 rice, he's your cheapest samurai. He's your cheapest fighting samurai, I should say. Mm-hmm. He's got a melee pool of 3. He can boost that for 3. He's got movement 4, range 3, generates 2 ki, holds 6. He's got a Tetsubo, which gives him powerful attack 1, so it's going to cost you 1 dice, and he got stun attack 1, so it's going to cost you 1 dice there. He's got armor 3, so a little bit lighter on the armor. He's got bear stands alone, bravery, immovable, melee prowess, and steadfast. And what is amazing for this guy is his 2 ki abilities. Cleave costs you 2 ki. He gains brutal 2 until the current activation is resolved. That's great. It's a +2 to your melee.
So it's essentially having 2 dice. It's essentially having 2 dice.
Yeah, exactly. And then he has Smite, which you gain Slam Attack 0 until the current activation is good. So Slam Attack is also great. So you push them away and then you follow up, which is good. So that's good for like controlling. So I like that ability. But his unique effect is where it's at. So Bear's Resilience. So I mean, he survived a Torii Gate to the face. So whilst this model has at least 4 wound markers, he gains durable. So for somebody who is immovable and then has durable is great. Mm-hmm. His weak, and obviously he's the cheapest samurai. So obviously and he's pretty darn good. He's your basic sort of samurai. His probable weakness is definitely the fact that he doesn't have resistance 2. So he's a bit war torn, and he's very, very vulnerable to control. Then you could counter that by spending 1 rice and giving him immune to control if you want to, which is probably what I usually do all the time, especially in tournaments I don't know what I'm facing, and removes that element. So you're spending 1 extra ki, so 1 extra rice to give him immune to control. This is probably one of my first honorable mention. That durable is amazing, especially for somebody who's immovable. So I'm putting him into a zone of control. I'm like, good luck getting rid of me.
Yeah, or with Smite, if somebody's blocking your zone and you need to get to it, you could essentially push your way into it. Yeah, exactly. You're pushing him back 3, and he's on a small base, so he's able to kind of follow up, and typically he should be able to get into the zone. So
yeah, Exactly. So that's happened to me a couple of times where I've smited my way or slammed my way into a zone and gone, cool, I'm going to be here. I think one of my first games I didn't give him immune to control, and it's who's the the snakehead Ito lady? Is it Mitsunagi?
Snakehead lady.
She's got the hair. She's Medusa.
Oh, Mizuki. Yes.
Mizuki, thank you. That's it. Sorry, yeah. Mizuki basically goes, cool, you've got a control marker. And then she basically said, well, I can't, to get you out of that zone, she basically my opponent moved him backwards towards the table zone. So that was very, very frustrating. Because that's the only way to get him out of a zone of control is basically have him leave himself. Yeah. You're like, oh, okay, I'm going to go home.
You should go elsewhere.
I'm going elsewhere today. That'll probably be his weakness. The fact that like his stun attack costs and powerful attack costs 1 dice on a 3 dice model. That's also like a bit of a downfall. But I mean, I think if he was to have resistance 2 and a higher melee pool, I think he'd be broken.
Well, they would definitely be upping his rice cost for sure, and especially with the model with cleave. That's gonna be, that would be the case. I like him a lot. I also like facing him if they don't have immune to control on him, because Mizuki will own him every day of the week and twice on Sundays. So yeah, I enjoy. But in general, anything that has cleave always gives me pause.
Yeah.
So I respect that, and then everything else that he brings to the table. Really, again, when I'm facing him, I'm trying to get right on that verge of where he gets durable, and then unloading some damage on him so I could take him out in one. I could take him out without having to face the slog of having to do a point here, a point here, a point here, because that's just for 4 points. It's annoying.
Yeah. So what I will usually do is, if I want to basically just put a big hurt onto something, what I'll do is I'll go hasty bear with this guy, and then I'll take that 1 hit, especially if I'm versing something that I know doesn't have combo attack, because combo attack would be this guy's detriment. So I would basically go, cool, hasty bear, he's on 4 wounds, he's got to take 1 damage this turn, and I will go all out attack. And like that's how I've removed elements from the game, because he's gone, it's it's good to have. But like durable is amazing, especially in a faction that is basically all about like slow moving. This guy's going to give him durable is going to make him even stronger. Then obviously, because you'd probably be playing fine as steel, you gain durable anyway for the first Minamoto model, is one of the things strengths there. But yeah, he's your cheaper samurai, so he gives you some options and some wiggle room around there.
Okay, excellent.
So second honorable mention, I'm going to go into Hoshi Rinko.
Okay.
So I've not been previously in the past. I have never really sort of looked into the Shigenja because I was mainly combat orientated and focused. But this one has sort of changed my mind. And because of that, I thought I'd make it an honorable mention.
Okay.
Her Cold Shatter ability, the opposed key test, that makes your samurai even stronger. The fact that she can, for a complex action, she can do Blizzard every turn if you wanted to. I mean, it's going to cost her any movement, but you can basically do slow. You can put Blizzard out there when you need it, especially when you're facing, say for example, if you're facing Shiho, which have got all their bows, very good to have. Obviously, that makes everything a little bit more even with the no one can run. Cold Shatter is amazing. Icy Veins is also really, really good. The target model gains fearless, durable, ranged, and slow. So makes your guys better. Oh, sorry, not better. That makes them for guys that are going to move for, and who are already sacrificing their high speed. This gives them a perk. And then if you do it on an enemy, it's an opposed key test. It's okay to have, but you're not really going to do it on an enemy.
Well,
um,
I would say, and here's what I would say you might do it on. So Icy Veins 1, it really does help cover up what I would say, especially for your larger base models. So
mm,
the Big Bear and Tetsu, and the only reason I say Big Bear is because I'll never be able to pronounce the name right. So the Big Bear and Tetsu, their vulnerabilities are somewhat ranged, and so in general, range is a downfall for a lot of things. So having range durable, that's sick. Fearless, again, very helpful because now not only do I not have to worry about losing that action when I move into somebody,
mm,
but I am not losing my die. So the slow, that's
yeah,
that's the one that if I'm going to be moving into my opponent and go into melee, and let's say they have a reach or
or
something
lightning,
along those lines,
yeah, or lightning fast reflexes. Yeah,
right? Then I throw slow on them.
yeah, that would,
You
yeah,
know,
that's beneficial.
it helps. It's corner case because you're going to have
Mm,
to do it on the active, so it's not going to come up that much. Or if you're just doing it strictly because you see somebody with Rajan's breath,
mm,
and they're going to try to make the jump out again. Though it's more of a timing thing because I don't know if Icy Veins. I'm assuming Icy Veins because it doesn't list when it expires. It goes till the end of the round, so if you could target them early, then
mm.
that might keep them from running into a zone or getting into a good position. Very corner case when doing it against an enemy, but it's still feasible.
Yeah, that's. I mean, don't get me wrong, that is not bad. But I mean, her ice magic already gives slow, her ranged ability. So when you hit the enemy with ice magic, they gain slow anyway. So that's why I was saying I would really use icy veins is good to have. I mean, you're spending that 2 key and you're going, yeah, target you, but it becomes an opposed key test, so that way they can potentially beat that opposed key test.
Mhm.
But her unique effect is models damaged by this model's ice magic attack gain slow. So I would rely on that more than using the icy veins on them, because it relies on my ability to hit. If I don't do it, I might as well try the icy veins. But
True.
I would basically be using this model. I mean, she's not your combat dude. So she's not your combat fighter at all. But she's the fact that she's immune to blizzard, so she can move where she needs to, is really really good. And then she's got the cold shatter. She's got 3 key abilities, which is fantastic for 19 rice. Also, if you take her, you can have a Kami of Reflection. A nice gimmick to have. I mean, I've got one. I don't really use it much. But like, I mean, to be fair with you, if I'm going to spend the 8 rice, I'm taking a Fire Kami any day of the week.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, that being said, tying into Fire Kami, she's immune to fire. So, I mean, you're going to see those a lot, and that's nice to have. But yeah, I like her for her ice magic, which makes your opponent slow. She can make your models fearless, which is nice to have on samurai, I guess. But also just durable to range. It's not that's icy veins is a nice gimmick to have, but I would definitely be taking her for the blizzard ability and
Mhm.
definitely the cold shatter. I mean, yeah, that if I want somebody to be taking an opposed key test, I'll be definitely wanting it on cold shatter, because if my other samurai are going to be fighting against them, they're going to do more damage, which
Yeah.
is what you want to dish out. So I know originally, back when we were doing the getting tabled, I was still uh, very young in my very early on, I should say, in my Minamoto sort of thing, and I was basically doing find a steel. You take 3 samurai and a bear and 1 blacksmith. That's basically my sort of my mindset. And then I sort of was realized, well, the Shigenja have got a purpose. And there was, I think, some of the feedback that we had got from that episode was like, you guys didn't talk about the Shigenja at all. And I was like, well, that's because I never played with them.
Mhm.
I didn't have them at the time. And then the more I read on the cards, I was like, actually, this girl, like, she's not bad. For
No.
19 rice, I would definitely be taking. She's now usually my. If I don't take Yuji, I'll take her.
She's a pricey option, but I like her.
Mm.
Of the Shigenju, I like her. She's she's got the samurai title, so she could go into samurai lists. She still
Yeah,
has 7 wounds, which
yeah.
that's awesome.
Mm.
And what's really cool is, yeah, she's got 2 melee pool, but she does get martial prowess. You don't see that in Sagenju. So if if you're going to go defensive and you screw up on the dice roll, at least you get some bailout on that.
Yeah.
So
and look,
it helps.
And also in a pinch, she can boost it.
Mm-hmm.
So she can go, okay, cool. Like I need to, she can hold 8 ki. She's going to generate 3 ki a turn. It's not bad. So that's, as I said, that's a blizzard. You could keep her back if you really wanted to and go blizzard, and then run her up because if you really wanted to. Or you could run her up into a position that you needed because obviously you're going to take blizzard as an event anyway for 1 rice. And then she just like the bears, she doesn't care. She can move them. She can move where she needs to be, and then she can start pumping out blizzard if you really wanted to, or you could just pump out cold shatter, which I would definitely be doing.
Absolutely, and with that 3 ki is nothing to sneeze at, because when you're doing those opposed ki tests and you're pitching 3 dice, even against 2 ki models, 9 times out of 10 you're winning, because once you get down to ties, that means the only reason they tied you is you probably threw 1 die as a 1.
Yeah.
And then they have 2 dice to your 2 dice. Hey, guess what? You're the active player. I just won. Hooray. So let's move on. You've just got cold shattered. So, I like her.
Yeah, I like her. So she was definitely an honorable mention for me. Because I thought, well, we were talking about creating honorable lists. As I mentioned, I had originally gone all 3 samurai, and I was like, no, because I've got to start thinking about which way I would play, because sometimes I don't play just pure samurai. I play what is it, garrison, or I play and I take Ashigaru, especially in the beginner box set. Ire, I think, is amazing. That's why and then the bear. So probably I have another one.
All right, let's get that one in.
All right, Minamoto Kaija, the blacksmith, the 9 rice guy.
There he is.
Yep. So, melee pool 2. That's not what he's there for. Movement 3. He's busy forging a blade, as we talked about. Now he gains 2 ki, unlike Haru, who the other blacksmith, which comes in the starter box set, who only gains 1 ki. It generates 1 ki a turn. So he's got a bit of a he's slightly better, but you take him for a different reason. Haru is I will do activations, and what I will do is I will heal everybody using the cleansing flame. This guy is to make your fire kami better, which you'll have access to, which it is inspiration. So you target a friendly faction model with a rice cost less than this model. It gains +1 melee pool and ranged until the end phase. That ties into his unique effect. This model can only this model may only target friendly fire or metal kami with the inspiration key fee. Metal kami are okay. I don't really take them. I would take a fire kami over a metal kami. Don't get me wrong. Metal kami have that purpose, but fire kami, if you can take 2 fire kami with this guy, oh yeah, you're laughing. So first off, those unique effects are really, really good. Make your fire kami now melee 3 and range 3 instead of range 2 and melee 2. Really, really good. His other, back on the face of the card, so he's immune to fire. Fantastic. You're gonna good to have, especially in this current meta especially with this current meta with fire kami running around. He's got leadership Minamoto, so he boosts your Minamoto because they all honor the blacksmiths. So he gives 1 out at 6 inches, really good. Resistance 2, spirit 1, and steadfast, fine. His blacksmith's hammer's got some punch to it with +1 strength in a pinch, but yeah, just you're taking him for mainly Blade of Dedication as well. I love that ability. Can you bring up Blade of Dedication? Oh, well, look, actually, I'll read it out. So you choose 1 enemy model in a pulse, so within 12 inches. Okay, it gains a dual token. 1 friendly samurai model in base space contact with this model gains the dedicated blade enhancement card, if permitted. So you can only have really 1 of it out at a time. And this feat can only be successfully used once per turn. Once per game, so you can only have it ever once. And yeah, it's going to cost you 3, so you probably get this off turn 2. And it's a complex action. It's also an opposed key test. So the dedicated blade enhancement card, it's using the sacred katana. So when the model is equipped with this blade is in a melee exchange with the dual token, this model gains the following melee weapon: sacred katana, which gives you unblockable 2 and powerful attack 1, and you have +1 strength for it. So the sacred katana is amazing.
There you go. I thought I had the card and I didn't, and then trying to pull it up was difficult. Technology. But
yeah, no, that's okay. I mean, so that's what the sacred katana is sort of about.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, it really is. That unblockable 2 is amazing.
Yes, absolutely. For those of you who aren't not familiar with unblockable 2, so when you do your melee attack, your opponent will be getting rid of 2 what's the word I'm trying to say? Get rid of 2 of their defense dice. And it's the 2 highest. So, hey, I put 3 in defense. Good luck. And I rolled a 6, 6, 2. And so we'll get rid of those 2 6s. And now you got 2. Have fun.
Yeah. I also just sent you an image of it as well, if you wanted to bring that up.
Let me see
for the chat. It's through Messenger. Dedicate, and plus also you gain the option for having powerful attack 1. Not bad. And if you're going to put it on a melee, if you're going to put it on maybe, well, I guess you'll put it on Nico or Yuji. Yuji would be really good with it. You've got a melee pool 4 dice. A melee pool of 4 makes you powerful attack. You can do it as well. It's nice to have in a pinch. Dedicated blade is pretty good. That's why you're mainly taking this guy. So
there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So that's a solid. It's a solid 3. What's the word I'm trying to say? Honorable mentions. Oh my god.
Yeah. Look, to be fair with you, I can keep going.
I'm sure you could. The whole faction can't be an honorable mention.
Yeah, I know. Also, I'll also put this as well. Hadori finish is also a really nice option to have. So you when you're in base contact with one of your guys, you can give them PS1 for 2 key. That's to the end phase. That's not bad, especially if you're going against with your Tetsubos. If you're going up against a something with armor, that's not bad to have it as well. So I like having options, and this guy is really, really good. So if you did get the starter box set, don't get me wrong, the blacksmith in there is good. He just serves a different purpose. This guy would probably be, maybe I would recommend the next one. Him and a couple of Fire Kami and maybe Nico would be really, really good. Give you a nice sort of lot of options there for your for you to play with. This guy's downfall is his speed. He's going to be slow, especially if you take Blizzard and stuff like that. With that movement 3. I find him hard to get into positions where I wanted him. Also, he doesn't have any armor, but I mean that's not what he's there for. He's not there for fighting. He's there to give out those abilities and then go and either interact with objectives or hold a close zone.
He's the one he's the one bringing the fire commies and supporting them. So he leaves. He stays in back where it's safe while the fire commies go and do the heavy lifting for him.
Yeah. Though the inspiration is only 6 inches, so you do need to be fairly close. So yeah, I mean that's going to be hard for you later on as well with the movement 3. So that's probably his major weakness there.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's not. He's 9 rice, so he's actually cheaper than Haru, the blacksmith in the starter box set. You can boost this guy by giving him like Ice Totem if you wanted to give him +2 key off the bat. You take metal. What is it? The metal. Is it metal totem or there's one where you can give him durable if you really wanted to by discarding the card. There's a bunch of different options there.
Yeah,
but you could toy around with it. But yeah, I thought those 3 would be good. I thought I had to mention the blacksmith because that's kind of what you roll.
It's a major part of the when you're looking at Minimoto, you have samurai, you have ashiguri, but hey, every faction has samurai and ashiguri of some kind or another, whether they're actually by name or not. But in this case, having the Hoshi, the Segunjas, the ice witches, and then the blacksmith. The blacksmiths really do kind of give the flavor to Minimoto, and that
Yeah.
really they do have their spot there for sure.
Plus, also they work really well with the unblessed because they make the unblessed a little bit stronger. And then obviously, if they're a line of sight of a blacksmith, they gain an ability. So if you wanted to go, this is a good faction. If you wanted to go pure samurai heavy, you've got heaps of options. You've got a lot of options to pick from. If you wanted to take a couple of bears, I mean, personally, I would stick with one bear. If you wanted to take a bear, don't take two. I've seen people do it, and you become very limited in options.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, two bears is nothing to sneeze at. It's puts you on the back foot.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you wanted to go Ashigaru heavy, you could come up with some really, really good stuff, especially like their banner, like Yama, which means mountain. Funny enough, Yukuma, sorry, the big bear. Actually, his name means big bear in Japanese. Yeah, there's heaps of options of what you could do. What were your top picks, mate?
So my top picks. So this will be nice and easy because you've kind of covered at least two of them. So we'll start with my number 3, which you did not cover. So that'll be nice for me. So let me get out of this. Or no, here, I'll do this way. Let's see if I can find him. We're spinning the wheel, and it comes up to there. Oh, there we go. Akemi.
Akemi, yeah, I like him a lot. 15 rice.
For great. 15 rice. So early on, when Minimoto first came out, they did not have any range except for some of the ice witches, and then the one smith who could chuck molten metal. And that was about it.
So originally, you're correct. The first blacksmith that came out was the was the one in the starter box set. The second one was the flinging one, and that was pretty much your only ranged for a long time. And then we got Ice Magic with the first witch that came out with the that regenerates the Ice Kami. If it's Kimiko, I think it is. Yeah, Kimiko. I picked the wrong one on the wiki. Sorry.
That's good. I'm getting there. Kimiko.
Oh no, she doesn't have. So she has Ice Magic, but it's melee. That's right. That's what always used to confuse me. But yeah, she's got the icy veins, so she can shout thing. But yeah, Akami is great. So then we got the I can't even pronounce that.
Ebenaj or whatever. So yeah, you got this. And I remember the first time I played against it, one of the guys locally had brought him out, and it just absolutely decimated us for weeks while we tried to figure out how to deal with this. So Akemi, my 3 bullet points on him are: he's a great range attack for a faction. You know, again, there's not a lot of range. There's no you don't have long range archers. You don't have guns. You have a few magic spells being chucked around. You got a dude who's chucking molten metal. This is a really nice option for him. Good at range, and he's good at melee, because you do have regular Ebenaj, whatever, flinging dudes, Ashigaru, that they're just the generic ones. But
they're flinging dog balls, man. That's what they are.
Exactly. But they're melee pool too. So having him at 3 and boostable, that means should he get caught up not doing his primary action, which is chucking a discus at people and pushing them off zones, he could make up for that. Last thing, he is excellent at zone control. Why? Because if you look close, and it'll be talking about his strength here in just a second, he has combo attack on the Ebenaj. So you put that on there with the fact that if he puts inertia out, he's pushing people off the zone for every time he hits with that combo attack. So he's going to clear that zone out if you need to. You know, if he's right on the edge of the zone or just in the middle of it, and it's a 4-inch zone, they're going to come in. It just takes 2 hits, and they're just partially in the zone, and he controls it. In addition to doing damage while he's doing that. So it's really nice. Strengths, I kind of touched on one. It's the Ebenaj. So it's lightweight, sharp 1, and he gets combo attack 1. So downfall, I got to sacrifice 1 die on my 3 to do it. But I'm not getting a penalty to move into position to get to close range. And close range is kind of tight in there at 4. I don't really want to spend the extra key to get to 3 to give myself a little bit extra range. It's not worth it. So lightweight, that's I would say, and that's the thing that threw us off when we were playing against them the first time, is the fact is, all right, well, I'm going to throw and I'm going to move in. All right, well, so you're close range and then you move 5. No, wait, I'm lightweight. Oh, well, that sucks. So you're still throwing on 4. Great. Yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you compare him to the other, the regular Ashigaru, you gain so much more for 2 rice.
Yes.
I reckon he's undercosted for what he
does. For what he does, I think actually he's. I'll be honest. I think he's spot on his cost, and that'll kind of. I'll talk about that a little bit in the weaknesses, but. Other strengths he has, he's immune to prone, so that's great. So one of the weaknesses is getting knocked down, and he avoids that. He has all the goodies that any Minimoto has. They have the armor 3. He has 7 wounds. He has bear stands alone, so he's not going to get swamped. He's going to be able to weather damage because he has armor 3. And even if he does take, he takes 3 hits, he's still got 4 wounds. I take 3 hits as an Ito or as a Tengu. I've got 5 wounds. I'm down to 2. I'm starting to play more defensively, whereas he's like, I got 4 more. It's not a big deal. And steadfast. That means should for some bizarre reason he need to lock somebody up in combat and he booches that fear check because he's only 1 die and doesn't have resistance, I'll take the penalty and I'll go in. And the penalty takes me down to what the normal Ebonage throwers are, so I'm not really fussed by that. So I like him. And then his last strength, which I would say his primary strengths are, he's got a melee pull of 3. Again, you don't see that in too many ranged specific guys. Secondary stuff real quick. He's an armor 3 on a range unit. I'll take it. 7 wounds again, and these are Minimoto norms. You're going to get them no matter what. The spin feat, that's the secondary one. And so let me get to the spin feat here real quick. Again, I said you don't necessarily want to spend 3 on it just to get the range. However, I will spend the 3 to get strong on my range. So combo attack and strong on a range attack. So let's think about this a little bit. I'm going to get myself into close range, and now my close range still stays at 4. So trying to get it, any better is not going to get any better. Maybe 6. So we'll go maybe medium range. I have to get up in there. So I'm at 6. Now I could throw it at 6 and be at 5s. I lost a die because I want to take combo attack. So the best I'm going to get is a success level 3. Well, I want to maximize my success level 3, my success level 1 hits. So being able to throw 3 dice to do damage, especially on success level 3, that means I'm maximizing my chance to hit that higher end of that success level 3 chart and still be able to do some damage on 1. Because, on 2 dice, you still have a real good chance. I think you need to get a 6 minimum on success level 1 to do any damage at all. So being able to throw 3 dice, I've now increased my chances to at least do 1 point of damage, if not more. So it's expensive, but when you really need to use it, it's there. And so I kind of like it.
So if I was to go, and I've tried the list out a couple of times, if I was to go with this guy, I would back him up with another ranged Ashigaru. I would never take 2 of the ranged Ashigaru. I would always take him and another one. Because for 2 rice, you're gaining +1 melee pull. So you go to 3. You gain push attack 0 on your Tanto, which is good. And also you're getting immune to prone for 2 rice. And also the strong ability, which is amazing. And also the other guys don't have combo attack. So this guy's great for 15 rice at all. He's really, really good. Probably, what did you have for his?
I was going to say, one of the things that I kind of like about him too is if you're going to run any one of the numerous blacksmiths in there, and of course take the obligatory 1 to 2 Fire Kami. Fire Kami's best friend is this dude.
Yeah.
range attack, throwing out fire. Yeah, I'll take that.
And
especially because like a combo and +1 strength and combo.
Yeah,
you
not
know,
bad.
It's pretty good, pretty darn good, pretty darn good. He does have some weaknesses, and it's going to be my weaknesses are going to be sounding a little bit redundant, but you kind of got to bear with me. So I have 2 of them listed, or if you just want to lump them into one, lump them in one. He has a low key stat.
Yeah.
And the low key stat means he's only getting 1, and he's only chucking 1 when he's trying to do opposed against opposed. So that means he's vulnerable to control. He's vulnerable to any of those opposed key feats, which are going to mess with you, like hypnotic gaze or anything that's going to make him immobile. I mean, there's a plethora of them out there, and all of them are typically horrible. So that's never a good thing. Also, in theory, if he really wants to use that spin ability, which is pretty darn good, or he's just going to be using inertia a lot, he doesn't have enough to be able to do those things, let alone boost if he needs to boost, if he wants to be able to throw 3 dice and still get the combo attack. So he's key hungry, and he just doesn't have the key to support working at maximum. Again, it doesn't make him a bad model. It just means that that's why I think he's costed very well. At 15.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and that's really the only, other than normal weaknesses that you'd see in any other given model, that's the only things that I could really kind of put on him there. Anything else that you would do to make, like, I'd like him to have better range. Well, he could get it with spin, but I'm not going to give it to him naturally because that would make him totally gross. So, in general, I like him, and I would have to find a way, and I'm guilty of it. I like having a range option in every list that I have. And he is an excellent ranged option at 15 points with a lot of upside if you want to synergize with fire commies or other Ebenage throwers. I think he just works really well.
So there is I agree with you. His low key, then you're going to have to pick what you want because you're going to spend 3 turns to be able to either boost your range or use the spin ability. Right. And probably you want to definitely use that inertia, like maybe turn 2, turn 3, definitely, because you want to push the enemy away or off a zone of control. Yeah, he would be a prime target for the card, the enhancement card, Ice Totem. If you hadn't to give him +2 melee, +2 key right off the bat, I would definitely suggest giving it to him. The other option of what you could do to counter the fact that you could spend another 1 key on him and give him over exuberance, so he gains strong, but after you roll the damage, you take the wound for the lower one.
Yeah, that's a risk. That's a risk, but it
is a risk. But you're 7 wounds. I mean, it's going to be very rare that you're going to, you're going to do that. But that's an option. I mean, I know I've spoken to Jason Enos about that, and he said, like, I love having strong on ranged. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Over exuberance is good, but you're taking the damage. And he's like, yeah, but most of the time you're rolling like a 2 or a 3, really. So like you're just doing chip damage on yourself for a guy that's going to sit back anyway. And I was like, yeah, that's understandable. But I would definitely, if you're wanting to use him to maximum effect, I would take him with a blacksmith. I would take the blacksmith
We'll figure it out. Somebody will correct us, please, dear God.
Sorry. We'll take him and a fire kami and this guy, and I reckon you've got some really good ranged option there. And take an ice totem on this guy for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's not a bad pick
for number 3. He's pretty solid. I said, I like having a little bit of diversity, and for me, one of the things I like to have is I like to have range, just because I think range is an important part in Bushido to actually get some either get effects out on the target early, or just to put just to flat out put some damage on them.
I agree.
Short range kind of hampers his ability to do that, but everything else that he brings to bear with that short range works really well for him. So that's my number 3. So my number 2 is Masayama Aya. So the
Ah,
Gunso. And
yeah,
I, when you first said that, I'm like, people are at number 3. I got her at number 2. Oh my gosh. Um,
yeah.
bullet points on her. She's a hardy warrior. Let me
Mm.
get her card up right here. This is oh, passed up. There we go. I'm not going to worry about her. There we go. Oh wait, I don't want her there. I want her here. Yes. So there she is. Hardy warrior. She's unflinching against fear
Mm.
and inexpensive key feats. Those one key feats are nice. Again, you're not necessarily going to use them all the time, but they're
Mm.
instants, they're one,
Yeah.
and you never know when that pass token is going to come in handy when you're fighting against Ryu or ninjas or somebody like that. Being able to throw out a pass token could be the difference between you getting jumped exhausted, that key model getting jumped exhausted, or it not. So it's always nice. Strengths, and we've covered this, but I think the number one strength she had, and somebody must be coming home for my dogs to go nuts, so bear with me, is endurance. So she's able to
Mm.
fight well even when exhausted, because more than likely you're going to put her in a position where she's going to get exhausted, or people are going to try to swamp her, and she becomes exhausted. So she just ignores it. So this gives you license to go ahead and be offensive with her
Mm.
and not be afraid of it, because her melee pool is not going to be affected by the fact that you've stretched her out and exhausted her early, taking early attacks. So that's
Yeah.
really nice. Um, you've touched on it, resistance 2. She has a fighting chance in opposed key feats. So again, she's a 1, but adding that 2 means if she rolls a 5, she rolls a 7, which puts her on equal footing with anybody that's rolling 2, even though they're going to win by having more dice. But again, they're going to have to really get those. They're going to have to get a 5 or a 6 on one of those two on their 2 dice in order to have a fighting chance to beat her. Now, granted, she's got to get the same thing, but it
Mm.
makes her much more resistant to it. And fearless. She won't lose dice when frightened. And again, you're going to be going up against, if you're going up against a meta that's heavy into cult or anything that generates fear, you don't have to worry about it. I don't have to make a die roll. I don't care about leadership, which has a tendency then for you to want to put her out there and almost use her like a Minimoto Nico.
Mm.
I could put her on an island away from everybody else, maximize bear stands alone, so 2 people come and get her. Who cares?
Mm.
And I could take those first hits. And now when you're hitting on me and you have 2 people hitting on me, I'm still throwing 3 dice at the same time.
Mm.
So it's really nice. Secondary, her veteran, less likely to die, less likely to be down to die during exchange. So stun, who cares?
Yeah.
So she's going to be able to ignore those. Her military training, it comes in handy. Like I said, having that pass token at a key moment is really nice. My guess is you're very rarely going to use it, but at one key, and it's an instant, it's nice. It's nice to have that in your back pocket.
I think you would be doing that very early on, really. But also, I would also reckon that it's a nice option to have, because if you could do it early on if you really wanted to, or if you got the upper hand, you could generate it just to be able to go, okay, cool, I'm going to see what you do. Because because if they're outnumbered, they're gonna, or if you got the upper hand, I should say, by beating your opponent, they've got less models. It's nice to see. It would be good to have there, but also I wouldn't really be using that if I'm losing, because I'd rather spend her key in getting in her veteran, or in getting boosted melee, or putting her to work. But it is good to have.
It's good to have, and again, I'm of the same mind. I'm probably not using it because that one key, because I'm probably saving up for a boost, and this will be more of a thing about the faction in general. In a faction that doesn't have a lot of options for channel,
Yeah,
that's and again, if you think about it, it kind of plays into the bear stands alone thing. Why would I channel if you can't do it yourself? You shouldn't be a Minimoto.
Yeah, they're not relying on magic. They're doing it themselves.
They're doing it themselves.
I think that's definitely a bear thing.
Yep,
done.
Get it done. So her weaknesses, and again, they're few, and again, they're going to be repetitive, and it's basically, I would say this is a universal thing for all their Ashiguri and in general, is the low key stats. So again, while she has a resistance to, majority of the time she's probably going to lose that test. So it makes it a little more of a challenge for whoever's rolling it, or it makes it more of a risk. Do I really want to spend the key to go against Aya? Because I do have a chance. I'm a 2-key model doing an opposed key feat against someone who's pitching 1 die, but they're adding 2 to the die. I'm thinking twice about that, maybe picking another target. And again, the low key stat means she's gaining key at a slow rate. So, and she really, not that she's a key hog, but if you're going to put her on an island fighting by herself, you really want to have at some point in time be able to boost to 4, so that way you could do something. So you either become very stingy on spending it. What I usually find is with a lot of my 1 key generating models, although I don't play with a lot of them, is if I'm moving them around into positions, I'm usually not spending key much until they actually get into combat. It's just the problem. You're wanting to get her stuck in because she's that good.
Yeah, and I reckon you're going to be in combat turn 3 with her
easily,
potentially. Yeah, definitely.
If not turn 2. Yeah.
Yeah, and that means you've got 3 key, so you can choose to boost, or you can do one of your abilities. You can do one of your abilities where you want. So yeah, you're right. She wouldn't be, upping her melee pool till like at least turn 4. Really.
No. And then last weakness really fast is she has the average weapon strength, which you said. Everybody with the Tetsubo seems to be throwing 2. I don't know why they decided to give her 1, but maybe that was the difference between 16 and 17 points. Who knows? But that's definitely, again, for someone that I'm really sticking in with endurance and going clobbering time, as it were, with her, I would love to have had +2 with her. But +1 is still better than nothing, I guess. So again, that's I like her. I find her really solid, and for 16 points, she's good. And I think again, I'm not afraid to leave her on her own, and that really, it's that endurance that makes her is really the key.
Looking at it, the regular Ashigaru models have also their Tetsubos have got +1 strength. It's usually when you start getting into the bigger guys that they get +2. Except for
Yoshinobu or something like that.
Yoshinobu, who's the other hero, he also comes in the starter box set. He's also really good.
He is. I had a hard time between the 2 of them, to be perfectly honest, but the endurance is what pushed me over the edge.
Yeah, and then definitely. That's sort of I would, when I was playing with my starter box set, and he was good to have, and that his ability makes him immovable. That's great. And then I found a samurai who does that. I found her more reliable, and just could go out on her own and do a lot more damage. So that's why I was always like, she's great in the starter box set. Definitely a keeper. Okay. And who was your first top profile?
My number 1, I'm flipping my page because I always write down notes for things because I'm old and I forget everything, is Nico, Minimoto Nico. There was, again, I was putting together my list over the last couple days trying to think, okay, what do I want to do with this? And yes, I actually do take some time thinking of these things, especially because, again, I don't have a lot of experience with Minimoto. And I mean, it's funny. If you look at my notes, I've written down, okay, my number 1, Minimoto Nico. And then I scratch it out and I put down Minimoto Yuji. And I scratch that out and I put down again Minimoto Nico because I just couldn't make up my mind on it. But Nico wins out. And again, for everything that you said, he's a strong melee unit, strong in defense. And let me put his card up because it's kind of helpful. Strong in defense. There. Whoop, there it was. Whoop. Oops, back up 1. Okay, so strong in defense. And he has strong defense against opposed key feats, and he again, a lot like Aya, he's designed to fight alone. He is designed with the bear stands alone in mind, is basically what I should say. Because you look at it and say, well, Greg, Yuji's got +1 in Dabo. He's really kind of, he is, but split attack means I could engage 2 figures, and I could do that way out on an island. If they would have given him endurance, he would have been he was probably going to be a 20-point model. If not higher. I agree. So imagine
if they gave him tireless.
Well, you know what? Well, here's the thing.
You'd be 23.
You know what? If they gave him tireless, I would say he would not be as effective because that plays into one of his weaknesses.
Mm.
And it's going to sound really weird. Nico is not a model that wants to react. Nico has to be active.
Yeah, I agree.
Tireless means he's taking the hits. If he's taking the hits, something's wrong. He's the one that's dishing out because you look at his key feats. His key feats are all active, so he has to be hitting. Tireless is great. Don't get me wrong, and yeah, you're probably right. It'd be probably towards 23, just because you could put him in there, and then they could beat on him, and then he could do something. But you're not getting the full bang for your buck if you're not get him stuck in. That's why I find endurance would be a lot more useful for him, because then I could go in, I could pound some things to pulp. If I don't, if not, just kill something. And then, okay, come back at me, and I still got my 4 dice.
Yeah.
And split attack means, I could actually engage 2 of you, beat you into paste, because I get Indomitable 1, because I'm doing it all by myself on the farthest zone. And, so it's all kinds of good stuff there. His resistance 2 on a 2 key model means, yeah, he's probably not going to be controlled, or any other of the nasty opposed key feats that are out there going to affect it. And Bear stands alone. Of all the models in the Minitmoto line, I see him and Aya are probably the 2 that I would actually go out of my way to get the Bear stands alone working. A lot of times when we play against people down here, Cody and our other guy Mike, they find out, okay, I'm going to get Bear stands alone. Oh, wait a minute, we bunched up.
Yeah.
They don't. You almost have to be conscious of it to make the effect for it. And with these 2, you really want to take that time and think about it. Okay, I want to get them because I want to get that split attack to go off, and I don't want to be down 2 dice because I'm engaging 2 models and having to play the split attack. I want to engage with 3 dice and beat the crap out of something. I want to beat 2 models with 1 activation.
You could make that. You could add abilities to make that, like as we talked about, Obsidian Bear, to make him +1 Indomitable and one rice. But yeah, you're right. I would pincer both Aya and Nico, so I'd put them both onto the flanks and make them move in, just to gain that Bear stands alone. As I said before, Bear stands alone is good to have, really, really good. But yeah, those 2 models you've picked, yeah, they definitely rely on it, on that sort of trait. But also, what else is really funny as well is a lot of people, what they do is they have their combat fighting guy up front, and they usually have their supporting character like your blacksmith or whatever, who's not so great in combat in the back. If you can get into the activation into the first guy and then rotate around, you can hit that guy in the back with the split attack, and they don't expect it a lot, because they go like, oh, my little blacksmith here, or my magic user, or my supporting character, who's quite vulnerable in combat, is safe because he's got the big guy in front. But being able to rotate that 180, and get into contact, it's very surprising.
Yes.
But yeah, and that would be something that Nico would definitely utilize. He's definitely that moving around those zones of control. I agree with you 100%. He is a very active model. He's not a reactive model. So usually if I'm reacting with him, I'm usually throwing defense dice because I'm waiting for me to be able to do what I have to do.
Yep.
But yeah, no, he's a solid choice.
No, he's a solid choice. He's a definite number 1. And his weaknesses are few, and they're things that are going to affect everybody. Weaknesses, being surprised. That's going to really kind of put a crimp in him because he can't spend key. But again, if he's not active, I'm not spending it on savage beating. So it's not that big a deal, and I'm maybe just not boosting die, and I'm down a die. Who cares? Yeah. Now all of a sudden, you're stuck in with me if you're not going to take me out. He's vulnerable to damage over time. Who's not? Unless you have tough, it's gonna do that. His armor 4 helps to mitigate that to a certain degree, because I got to actually get the damage in to put most of those effects on you. Range. Now, I will say he's a little bit. The one thing I'll say about him is, and I've done it, if I get lucky, I'll get a bow shot in, and maybe I'll get through that armor on success level 0, and I roll the magical number 12 to put 3 points of damage on him. or just to get through on there, just to I'll be dice. No, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase it. So I'm success level 0. I'm a +1 on my die, so that means I'm dice -3. So I go from 12 to 9. I just on success level 0 put 1 point on them to get my bleed damage on it. So it's not easy to do. However, not that they put conditions or anything on anybody, but if I got a gun, that's +4. So now all of a sudden it's a 0. Now again, you only worry about it in Ryu really, but it's out there.
Oh well, some of the jungle guys have got black powder weapons which have pierce.
That helps.
Yeah, that does help. Yeah. And there's also some range abilities with bows where I think they gain pierce as well, or they gain.
There's a couple.
There's a few out there.
There's a few out there. I think I see more bows with like powerful attack, like Naboku for Tanaka's in Shiho. I see a few brutals out there, like the princesses. The only reason that's stuck in my head because that tortured me the other day. And I think there's somebody else who's got brutal 1 on their bow, so those are horrible. Anything that could take me to success, over success level 8 on a range attack is something to be feared. So
definitely.
But again, who's not vulnerable to that? So it's not like he's and there's ways, and I'll say in Minimoto there are ways to negate that. Blizzard helps it, and I think they have a few other things out there that could give some range defense. So again,
there is some armors as well that they can take, but they're usually quite costly. Usually cost you about 3 or above. But if he's your top pick, I agree. But also, I like how we had. I do like that we were able to touch on like a bit of a chat about both him and Yuji. And I'm glad you had the you were like, oh, it's Yuji, oh, it's Nico, oh, it's Yuji.
It was very, very rough. It was not an easy choice. Honorable mention. I have 2. I'm just going to run through them really quick. I went for the big bear, Yoyokuma. Powerful melee attacks. He's awesome. Knocks down most enemies automatically. Even better. Tough 2 and 7 wounds. What's not to like about that? He's all kinds of awesome. It's again, we play in a very range heavy meta, so I get a little paranoid about that. But the tough 2 that does help mitigate it. So I still like him. I played against him the other night. He was a fearsome guy. It's just I surrounded him with snakes who have jump up. Or the problem is my opponent who's coming back was a little too aggressive with him, and he was charging him or he was getting him exhausted, and then I just jump him, and then I took him down. I took him down pretty easy, but that was again more based on my opponent was new, and we talked about it afterwards. I go, he's not Tetsu where you're getting that bonus for charging in. Either put him in a spot where I got to come to him and he beats the crap out of me, or don't get him exhausted. You don't want to get him exhausted because and don't get him surprised. And my last one is one that I can't show the card for because it's new and not out yet, or it's coming out. I think it's on pre-order or was on pre-order. Sora.
Okay. Okay. So we did a
reveal on that.
Review on that. Yeah. So first off, great model. Actually, if you give me a second, I will be able to.
Actually, you can share your screen if you want. There should be down at the bottom.
Hold on 2 seconds. Let me bring up the card. Let me find the card. Sora. Wave 5 Sora. Here we go.
I'll kind of run through it. While you do it, I'm going to kind of run through it real quick. So Sora is a 14-point Ashiguri in its peaks, so that must be something new's coming. 3 melee pool that can be boosted if you spend 3 ki, 3 range, 2 cares, 4 movement, standard, 1 ki can have up to 6. All pretty standard for an Ashiguri. Has a Yari, so that's kind of cool. Gets reach, powerful attack 1, sweep attack. A reach weapon that gets +2 on the melee strength. I like it. So great there. Traits, armor 3, aware, bear stands alone, of course, courage 1, range defense 1, and steadfast. So a lot of the things that I talk about and that I'm worried about, aware. So ninjas, who cares about ninjas? I'm going to have reach and they can't surprise me. Suck on that. Did you find it?
Yeah, is it sharing?
Oh, yeah, let me do it. No, I got to add to stream. There we
Oh,
go.
cool.
Now
There we
now I
go.
did it. I had to
Hang
actually
on.
click
First off,
something.
that's the model.
That's the model. That's a very sexy model. I'm going to say I like the sculpt on it, and it's going to be very nice to have that added.
I liked it.
Mhm.
So I don't mind it. It's a very solid model. I like it for it's he's got clearly he's got the reachability, which is good. I like him a lot.
Mhm.
But this is the artwork, and I really wanted that model. I
That
really wanted
pose.
the pointing. Yeah, that pointing. I'm a sucker for a pointing model.
Okay.
I really did. That's what I sort of envisioned. Like all my space marine sergeants in one way, some way are pointing. I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for a pointing model. But yeah,
Okay.
that's his card.
That's his card. He's good all around. Courage 1, range defense 1, steadfast. That's awesome. The 3 points that I had about him, he's got the strength 2 and reach weapon. So that's
Yeah,
very useful. That means anything that's coming to him, he's going to strike first unless they have reach or they have lightning reflexes or something to have them strike first.
yeah,
So that you don't see that too much in this faction, is having a reach or being able to strike first when someone comes into you.
yeah. He's the only one with reach at this
Yeah.
moment.
So
He hasn't been released yet, but he soon will be.
mhm.
I've definitely pre-ordered him.
uh,
I've got all the models for Minamoto plus one because because there was no Big Bear model at the time, and I bought the Guild Ball Bear and I
ah,
used him. So now I have 2 Big Bears. But anyway, so I pre-ordered him. So once I get him, I'll definitely be panning him. I'm super excited for that. But yeah, he's the only model with reach. You're correct.
mhm.
And did you want to touch on his abilities? Because I can bring
Yeah.
them up too.
So
Yep.
yeah. So he has chill, which is one of the things that's one of his strengths. So this key
Mm.
feat, target enemy model in base to base gains slow until the end phase. So again, you're going to have somebody you could when they come in and attack you, you know, they're going to have reach. Now they're stuck in and they attack you again. Well, I'm going to make you slow. So now I'm
Mm.
still going first. So essentially, he can, if he wants, and again, it costs 2 keys, so it's always a little expensive. He could always be striking first no matter what. And it's an instant,
Yeah.
so that's even better. Or if somebody pulls a lightning reflex trick on you, all right, well, now you're slow. Guess who's going first? Hey, it's me.
Yeah.
Um, and then the conditioning. I was going to say he has everything to protect you from the things I talked about that I always find dangerous. Being surprised. I have aware. I got that solution. Range
Mm.
attack against you. Well, I have range defense 1. Go find something better to shoot at.
Mm.
Okay, you're going to try to do a post key feat to me. Oh, you're right. I only got a 1 key. Oh, wait. I'm going to spend that 1 key, and now I've got resistance 2.
Mm.
So he's got a trick for just about every weakness that you're going to find, aside from being knocked down.
Yeah.
So just all around for 14 points, he's kind of disgusting. And then unique effects are even better. Tracks in the snow while a blizzard is active. Oh, and by the way, he ignores slow while in a blizzard and can
Mm.
perform a charge. While declaring a charge and performing a charge. So he could ignore it when he charges. So he could see something across the board 8 inches away and charge it during blizzard. Awesome.
Mm.
And while blizzard is active, this model ignores camouflage. Hey,
Yeah.
ninjas. Guess what? You flanked on the side, Ghost. I see you.
I can see you.
So,
Yeah, no, that unique effect is really, really good. He and in terms of the lore, so we read out a bit of the lore in our faction review.
mhm,
Yeah, they sort of go hand in hand with the Ice Maidens, so he would lean heavily in with them as well.
yeah,
So I would definitely utilize one of them with him. For 14 rights, he's really, really good. That instant, and also the fact that the conditioning is instant. So it's
mhm,
like if something happens, I potentially need that +2 resistance is really, really good. You're right. Chill is amazing. It's also instant, so it's anytime that somebody moves in base contact. This guy, he does some solid work for 14 rice. It's really, really
for 14 rice, he is probably one of those that you're going to find putting in your list quite often. I think he'll probably match
good.
up. You were saying working with the Hoshis. I think you'll find him with Rinko a lot because her with with being able to throw down Blizzard is going to be
Yeah,
even better. So Blizzard card on turn 1, Shido's into his Blizzard turn 2. He's got to be in position at that point to charge something under Blizzard conditions. So even better. And then he's even harder to hit by a range attack because cover plus range defense 1. So you're already 3 on you're up in that target number 3 without really having to do anything. You just have it. And he has courage 1. So when he's trying to make those fear tests, even better.
+1.
Yeah, +1. So I'll admit
that, especially.
I was gonna say I'll admit it was very hard for me not to put him in my top 3. Just because cost wise, I think he's really, really effective. But he does it. I needed to have a range in there, and I really like a Kimmy. But
yeah. See, okay. So here's the thing: is I thought we were doing it with just current models because I had this guy in mind. No joke. I had the exact same thing. I was like, oh, no, he's not released yet, but I should have. I think he's coming out next month.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. It's actually funny. I think it is 3 out of the 4 releases for next month. Have all got Yaris.
Mm-hmm.
The skeleton's got Yari. He's got Yari. And the new Tango model, which is beautiful, has a Yari as well. And the skeleton only has +1 strength compared to everybody else who's got +2 because you need muscle to make strong.
Actually, Bone's not going to do it.
Bone's not going to do it. Yeah, no, I like him a lot. Range resistance 1, plus then also with the Blizzard and effect, which is going to be because you're going to tie him into that sort of ability.
Mm-hmm.
He becomes no point targeting this guy with range.
No.
Really, really good. Steadfast, solid. I originally, when I first saw the artwork, I thought he was going to be like a really low point cost samurai, just because the armor was very different from the normal Ashigaru. Don't get me wrong. I was kind of a little bit disappointed he wasn't a samurai, but at the same time, I saw his profile and I was like, no, he's actually really, really good. I think if they upped his key, that would have been broken. He would have been way more points, but for 14, he'll definitely do well. I am very interested to see what Peaks is.
I was about to say I'm really intrigued to see what that's gonna if that's gonna be a new theme or if there's gonna be event cards or enhancements that are tied into that. I don't know. I'm intrigued. So I'm hoping we get some more spoilage on that for sure. Now that I'm going to be a proud owner of a new Minimoto army at some point in time, I'm looking forward to adding this one into my list and painting it the next year or 2.
Yeah. Well, look, man, if you want to, if you're not brave enough to repaint them, if you want, I'll put it out there. If you want to send them to me, I'm more than happy to repaint them.
I may do that. So you got to understand, when Cody says that he doesn't like a paint job, it's usually really good paint job. He just didn't like a small thing on it. He's notorious for painting a whole army or some really cool figures. He goes, I just don't like it, and then putting them in the green dip and scrubbing them clean. And it's like, don't do that, dude. I'll buy you a new model and I'll take that one, and you could go paint a whole new one, and I'll just have that one painted.
You're like, it's okay. They're well painted.
Exactly.
I know people who are perfectionists like that. Like they do the same thing. I mean, I myself, it took me a while to paint. It's really funny. I had the Minamoto starter box set, and I had sort of started painting them blue, and then I was like, no, I'm not really happy with that, and I shelved them. And then the new the Open Rebellion Shiho faction came in, and I was like, oh, those are lovely. Like, I'm gonna get back into Bushido, and then so got back into it, and then I was like, oh, I'm going to do a tournament. I want to paint something, but I only want to paint a very low cost models. And obviously, I had painted up Tetsu, and I was like, oh, I'll only paint maybe 4 more models, and I painted up my Minimoto, and then I just started playing them, and I was like, I actually really like how they work now. Whereas before I was a little bit confused because I hadn't really played much. I was only, occasionally playing like maybe once a month. So that's not enough time to teach you how to play a game. That's my sort of background there with Minimoto. But yeah, look, I mean, I'm excited to see what you do with them, especially on your channel. So
I'm gonna hope so. Yeah,
if you need tips, come to me. I'm more than happy to help you.
I will definitely do that if I need it. So I think combining our top 3s is going to be a heck of a lot easier than I thought. So
yeah,
we'll just start at number 1. I'm thinking we're both in agreement. It's
Nico.
Minimoto Nico.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're going to have too much of a problem if we moved Masamea Aya up to number 2.
Aya, yeah, you can bring up Aya's number 2 for sure.
And then the big question is what do we want to slot in 3? I'm thinking the Big Bear is probably going to be number 3 because we're a little bit all over the place on our with honorable mentions and whatnot.
Yeah, it's the honorable mentions sort of seem to be what you, depending on which way you sort of want to go. That's why I sort of was like, I'm going to touch on one more samurai. I'm going to touch on a spellcaster because I'm using them a little bit more and I'm finding them really, really good. And then a blacksmith, because in a faction that you have to talk about blacksmiths, you definitely have to.
Absolutely.
We didn't talk about Tetsu, but I'm glad, that's fine. Tetsu, to be fair, is a really good option to have, especially after the starter box set. 18 rice does some solid damage, but I think I reckon Akami will definitely be top 3. For the 15 rice is really, really good. It's hard for me. I'm Brother Bear. I should be leaning towards the bear, but I'm gonna say Akami for somebody who's starting out. He's a solid option to have, just to have some range.
I could agree with that. I could agree him at 15, and having that range option in there. That's a good thing to have in there. So top 3 between me and Brother Bear, because we don't have a third person to kind of say, no, you guys are dumb. We're going this way, which is kind of nice. I like that. Minimoto, Nico, Masamea, Aya, and Akemi. So those are our top 3.
So Nico first.
Yeah, Nico first.
Aya second, and Akami third.
Nice. So, with that being said, I hope everybody enjoyed it. I thought with 2 people we'd be well under 2 hours, and we are not. Which is okay. That's good. We got we covered a lot of ground, and I think if you're looking to get into Minimoto and are looking to get a really good overview of some of the models, some of the better models, some of the different models, and just how it plays, this is going to be an episode that you're definitely going to want to listen to as you're painting your Minimoto models up, or just painting in general. So we hope you enjoy it. And Ben, we're glad that you're here. Hope we'll definitely be listening to see and watching for you on Getting Table, and hopefully next time we do something, we'll have you out, find something to have you come out and chat with us about. I'm sure Gaming Jason and I hate saying this, Grandmaster Cody. That's hard to say. Would like to have you on and talk a bit for sure.
Yeah, no problem. I'm more than happy to, anytime you want to talk Bushido or, in fact, Minamoto, more than happy to talk. And I'll probably talk your ear off, which I've probably done in this case. I'm sorry. But yeah, I always enjoyed listening to your guys' stuff. It's great. Always appreciate the hard effort that you guys are going into. In fact, you actually tried out one of my lists in the Minamoto versus Ito. I didn't really intend for you guys to go Ito versus my Minamoto list, but yeah, on your channel, you definitely used one of my lists, which I took to the Minamoto one. I took to a tournament and I won with. So, big fan of you guys' channel. So thank you so much for having me.
Hey, no problem. Great having you. And I will say, thank you for that list because of that list, I've tweaked it, and I've been absolutely destroying people with that list. But instead of having the Ito one I've been using, but instead of using it in the Blessed, I've got it in Serpent's Coil.
Right.
And I changed a couple models in there, and I've tweaked it, and I've played it quite a bit now. And had I not been running the Adepticon, I was going to be running that at Adepticon. And I've been giving everybody fits with it. Now, granted, some of them have been doing a few more experimental lists and whatnot of late, especially after Adepticon. But even prior to Adepticon, I was giving some people runs for their money with it. So I thank you for that, because now I'm more on the winning side of things.
Hang on. I helped out Ito.
You did.
I don't know how I feel about that. It's okay. I'm glad. I'm glad you're getting some mileage out of that. So send me the list after this, on Messenger, and I'll definitely have a look at it and see what your tweaks are and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah,
they're not many. They're not many. So again, Ben, thanks so much for joining us. It was great having you on, and we look forward to having you on again. And for everybody else who's watching and listening, hey, if you enjoyed this, first throw us a comment. give us your ideas. What are your top 3 Minimoto? We would really like to know. It's something that, we kind of have our own criteria for it. You may have yours, or you may have some other insights that we don't have. So please share them with us and share them with everybody else. It's, we only get better by learning and hearing what everybody else has to say. And I'm going to switch to this view now. There we go. So definitely give us those comments. We appreciate that. We try to respond as quickly as we can to those, and hopefully everybody else will see them. In addition to that, we hope that if you did enjoy us, you'll give us a like. We like seeing those thumbs up for sure, people. That lets us know that we're on the right track and doing things that you like to see and hear. And of course, subscribe. We don't offer anything special, but at least you'll know when we actually put something out. You'll get that little bell saying, hey, Gaming with the Guys put some other crap out. You should listen to it. Or you need to paint your miniatures. And we don't talk like that, but you get the idea. It's also late here in the city of Chicago, so I'm starting to lose it a little bit. Anyway, thanks again for joining us, and we hope you have a great day or evening, wherever you may be.
Take care. See you guys. Flaming hot Cheetos. Oh, I'm glad we don't have that sort of stuff in Australia. Gosh, it doesn't sound pleasant at all.
There's